So, we're not into the sitcom anymore. This week we're going back in time. Some speculated it would be a flashback episode, and yeah, that's what it is. So, of course, I won't go into specifics yet. If you only want my spoiler filled thoughts, there's a timestamp in the description to click on. Okay, let's dive in. Hi, fellow Disney Plus watchers. This is Thoughts After Disney Plus Watch, where we review everything new Disney Plus coming out, and I'm glad you're watching. So the title of this episode is Previously On. That's told me a lot about what this episode was going to do right from the start. But man, I'm already starting to miss the sitcom stuff. I could have watched a lot more episodes of WandaVision of just sitcom and an occasional sketchy thing that happens. I mean, if you close your eyes, think about 5 weeks ago when we got 3 episodes of just sitcom and mystery. You remember when we were really being in the dark about what was going on? That feeling of isolation, the self-quarantining of Wanda, it's kind of like playing a really awesome immersive video game, only now there's so much glitches that you can't be immersed anymore, but forced to watch the game really fall apart. No shots at this episode that we kind of needed in a way, but just something to think about. But there's no going back to it. We're in for this ride. By the way, if you're interested in commentary on previous episodes, you can find them listed on the right in the description or on my channel page. And before we move on, let you know I'm currently the only review channel on YouTube that is specifically Disney Plus. You'll always know what to expect. Click that button if you want to follow along. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're visiting a couple of moments that we've been previously kind of aware of, but we're seeing the implications of some things happening and go into the psyche of Wanda. It's a bit of a study on character. It's about her relationship with Vision, her grief regarding her family. We get to know a bit more about Agnes, and it's all well told, although it's really specifically a flashback episode, and that's what it's setting out to do. If you've been so curious of what will happen next, then you won't get a lot this week. It's a collection of moments that are emotionally powerful, especially the last few scenes are really impactful. But yeah, I'm left with the feeling we kind of needed this as a reference point for this show when we look back at it, but I'm just sitting here so eagerly awaiting of what the finale is going to be, how it's all going to wrap up. But that doesn't take anything away from this week's chapter, not at all actually. I'm just saying where I'm at right now. There's nothing to complain about this week's one. The collection of flashbacks and character moments are really well acted and well written. If you think about it, this show is now very well structured. 3 sitcom episodes, 1 flashback episode, 3 sitcom episodes that are expanding both worlds actually, the world in and outside the Hex, 1 flashback episode, and a big finale next week. Okay, I hope I managed to be vague enough till now, but I want to rip the band-aid off and talk freely about spoilers. So you've been warned, spoilers, 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 here we go. It's cool that we got a flashback regarding Agatha. I felt like it was a fresh way to open the episode, also because it's a very different tone and time period. It got my attention. There's a but I'll get to that. And you know, Agatha doesn't age that fast. That was cool. 1693 and she looked maybe 10 years younger or so than she does now. Well done, Miss Harkness. So Agatha is like a traitor of her clan and gets punished. From here on out, like when everyone shows off their powers to take control of Agatha, the scene gets a bit generic. That's my but with this scene. It's not great. Like really over the top fantasy porn. So everyone dies and Agatha murdered out her whole clan. Okay, cool. I'm curious though what this storyline will mean going forward. I would have felt the same about everything that happens in the rest of the episode if this opening scene was missing. So right now I'm not convinced we needed to see this, but that can totally change next week. The way this episode revisits time periods might be a bit on the nose, like it goes full Christmas Carol, doorway into memory, main character is suddenly invisible only to reappear at the end to reflect on what happened, that kind of stuff. But you know, it worked. The extra drama that creeps underneath this is, of course, Wanda doesn't want to do this. Agatha wants to know how she got here because of the enormous reality-bending potential she possesses, and Miss Harkness got the children hostage. And I'm pissed, of course. I really started to like these fake kids. And yeah, I still think that Billy and Tommy are fake and created. But it will be interesting if they manage to leave the Hex environment and how that plays out. The scene around the time of Captain America's Civil War where Vision and Wanda have a conversation on watching TV, that was really great. Vision is the first to comfort her, to tell her, no, it can't all be despair, foreshadowing their relationship. That's all sweet, but what I liked even more was Vision still learning about human behavior. With so much Vision in sitcom episodes, you almost forget that the real him is so busy learning about how humans react, and in this case, what is funny to them, how sitcoms work. It's sweet that she also got a memory with Vision watching a sitcom, further making sense of why she wanted to share such a life with him. The most impressive and emotionally charged scene this week was by far Wanda visiting Vision at the Sword headquarters. But let's first talk about the little twist that this episode got going on. Wanda didn't take Vision's body. I mean, I was so waiting for it to happen. I was really already thinking of scenarios while watching it. What is she going to do? How does she's going to manage to take all the parts with her? Is she first creating something of him, or a duplicate, or something that walks, or something? Or is she just collecting all the parts and running off? But no, she walks away without him. And man, I was in denial. This can't be. She has to change her mind and go back. Oh, that's fun. We'll get another scene of her going back, revealing even more about the story. You know, she's returning and stealing him then. But no, she stealing Vision's body was a misdirect. She's literally creating him through the power of the reality stone. That's of course exactly the reason why he's unable to leave the hex. The heart and soul of this episode is of course the scene where Wanda is looking at Vision's dead body and realizing, I can't feel you. There's nothing there. And of course the Mind Stone was removed, but it's not like her robot boyfriend can die, because he doesn't live. She essentially loves him because of the power the Mind Stone gives him. At least I think that is what happens here, why she says she can't feel him. By the way, the after credits scene, that will be interesting, but I'm going to be completely honest, not really sure how Hayward pulled that off. Of course, he still got that missile that was infected with Wanda's magic, and he managed to create a duplicate of the Vision weapon. I'm calling him a weapon because he calls it a weapon. I know that's harsh, but that's how Hayward thinks about him. Does anybody have an educated guess of how this thing was made, or do we have to wait till next week? I'm really confused and excited at the same time, but leave a comment if you have more insight of how that worked. I'm not really sure. WandaVision is a tragedy-driven, emotionally powerful show, and with all the history of MCU and all the stories about Stark, about Hydra, about S.H.I.E.L.D., about events in Age of Ultron, Civil War, Infinity War, name it, it makes me, of course, more invested in this show. That is why. Even though I'm not one to cry that often, I once again got... I have to admit it. I once again got watery eyes near the end. Her just standing there with that Vision taken apart without the power of the Mind Stone. Powerful stuff. So not a lot of answers or plot progression this week. I feel like we didn't need every flashback scene we got in this episode. I haven't talked about all of them because of that, because I really don't care to talk about all of them. It's not like these kinds of episodes blow me away because they're just providing some fuel for the story to continue. It's the same thing that episode 4 was all about, essentially. Just catching us up. I enjoyed it, even though we've seen the setup so many times in movie and TV, it worked well enough. Like the structure, like the Christmas Carol kind of thing. By the end, I was emotionally invested. Wanda's trauma is well displayed in this episode. And Agatha looks badass in her full costume. Just wanted that out there. She's a badass. Man. I'm thinking about wrapping this up. Thank you so much for sticking till the end. If you care about my non-spoiler thoughts on Flora and Ulysses from last week, that new movie about that superhero squirrel, there's a link in the description, but we're covering so much more, like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and of course the Mighty Ducks Game Changers next month, so be sure to be back for that and more. For now, have a wonderful day and see ya!